Welcome to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio here on a Tuesday morning, or hell, if you're listening to this in 3 weeks, whenever and wherever you may be listening, welcome aboard. It's going to be a really fun time. I'm Dave. This is Matt, the owner of the Recov. We're broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room, which once again had a really nice time for bingo on Monday night. Thank you so much, guys and gals, for coming out to support on Monday night, including and especially, Matt, our good buddy Johnny Wad from Stacks Family Farms. I'm wearing my Stacks Family Farms hat this morning. Boosh. It looks great. Wonderful swag. Johnny bought me a shot of Malort last night.
Oh, boy.
Not good stuff. He knows that I can't really do that and actually have to function on the microphone to do our bingo night. So Johnny says this, Dave, I'll give you a 5-pack of Stacks Family Farms gummies, blueberry, if you take the shot. I did, Johnny. Thank you. It actually made everything go down a lot smoother, and the bingo, again, went off without a hitch. I was once again a master debater and a cunning linguist on the microphone.
I love it.
So do I, so did they, as a matter of fact.
That sounds like a very nice deal to do with Johnny. We got some big stuff coming up with Stacks Family Farm pretty soon here, a month from now. 420 is coming up. So
yeah, 420, officially a month from yesterday, and yesterday was, to Matthew, if you didn't know, at 4:24 in the p.m. Central Time, the first day of spring. 4:24 p.m. yesterday, first day of spring. Boosh. We made it.
Yep, great day to get the patio furniture out.
Sure was.
Nice.
Sure was.
Good timing.
Nash was not really happy about that, though, in one respect. One respect only. Power washer didn't work.
Yeah, just one. Probably need some gas.
No, had gas. There was like no pump or something to it.
I'd have to take a look at it.
Fully gassed up. It's almost like when I bought my Swiffer Pet mop, right? Yep. So we have hardwood floors up here in the Trauma Center Studio Plus, which is what we call the living quarters, Trauma Center Studio Plus. We have hardwood floors up here. Okay, fine. Great. I love them. Well, I bought what I thought was the Swiffer Wet Jet, which has the, cartridge part that you put on the back of it. So I buy the extra cartridge, buy the mats, open it up yesterday. It was just the Swiffer Pet. So it was just basically a stick that I get to push around, make it seem like I'm doing some really lazy prison work, which is the way that I used to describe my brother Travis doing chores, as if he was a man doing life in prison. Sat there and pushed the broom very slowly, as if you've got all the time in the world and much of it to kill.
More of moving stuff around than picking stuff up, I'm guessing.
Yes, much more of just shoving things into certain portions of the corner. I don't know if he sweeps it all anymore, but that's not for me to say. I don't live with them. UW Wells Thomas is checking in this morning, Maddie. Top of the morning to you, Thomas. He says, good morning. Yesterday was such a beautiful day. He almost wore shorts. I wish you did. Shorts for the very first time this year. Also broke out the new Oakley sunglasses that he got for his birthday. Wow. Very nice.
Perfect day for it.
Very nice.
It's flip-flop season for me already. So yeah, let's get this sun coming in more and more every day.
Yeah, I want it. It's great when I get ready to go to bingo at 6:15, 6:30 at night, and it's still bright and sunny. Feels awesome. What's not quite as great is when I wake up at 6 o'clock and it's pitch fucking dark. And I'm like, wait, what time is it? Oh, wait, that's right. It's time to get up.
Steve Millay. Let's check it in.
Who is this now?
Steve Millay.
Steve Millay. Steve, I didn't actually hook up the pressure hose, so I can't speak to the veracity of these claims. I can't confirm nor deny whether the water hose was hooked up to the pressure washer. But Nash is a pretty good, when it comes to those things, pretty good judge. I think that there was something just missing. Anyhow, he got it figured out. He used the regular hose. Yeah. He got it figured out. It looks beautiful down there.
Just took a little longer than he wanted to, but
yeah,
I think Nash was probably just enjoying the sun himself.
We all were, actually, for a bit there. I took Leo downstairs, myself, Gabby, Yoshi. Yep. They were working. Ty and Nash were working. Gabby and I were doing some executive, how do you want to say this? We were doing some executive coaching. So this looks good over there.
Oh, it's like union work.
Basically, that's what I equated it to. Okay. Was a lot of union work. Another one of our Facebook group members checking in here. Matt says, good morning, Dave. Good morning.
That's Alec Gillespie.
Alec Gillespie. Good. Alec and I have been going back and forth this morning. Top of the morning to you, buddy. Thanks for checking in there. Also want to say what's up to Josh. He was checking in yesterday. Josh Niles was checking in with us yesterday, saying what's up to you, buddy. I know that you're up and at it. Eric from La Crescent's up early this morning, says, top of the morning, fellas. Not a huge hockey fan, but the best team in Minnesota is the Wild. Good game tonight. listen, the NHL's regular season, we haven't spent too much time on because, frankly, with the 1 hour program, Matt, we just don't have time to fit NHL hockey in. We really don't. If NHL was more of a national narrative, we would absolutely work it into.
Wisconsin had a team.
Or if Wisconsin had a team. The Wild is a team, though, that I think, Eric, from La Crescent, and maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, I think I did a decent job of trying to integrate the Wild in to conversations when I had a 3 hour program. But then again, you've got 3 hours with this 1 hour fast and furious, locked and loaded Trauma Center studio package here. It becomes a bit difficult, but you're right. The Wild playing really good hockey recently. You know who else is playing really good hockey recently? Shout out to my friends out in Vegas, the Golden Knights. Over the last 7 games, I think Vegas was 6-0-1, and they're gearing up for another playoff push. They didn't make the postseason last year for the first time in their franchise's short history, but this year I believe they're number 1 in the Pacific. So this should be a really good run for Vegas, and we can't sleep on Boston. The Boston Bruins,
so good.
Dude, they might end up having the best regular season in NHL history.
They were they were the fastest to ever qualify for the playoffs already. So they're having a hell of a year. What I was going to say, NHL to me is kind of similar to, the NCAA a little bit. I love my Blackhawks. I really don't pay a lot of attention during the season, but once it's hockey, playoff time, now is the time to get into hockey.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Now, if there ever was a time to get into hockey, it would be right now because we have just concluded the Frozen Four, right? So we had the Wisconsin Badgers women winning their 7th national championship, and the NHL postseason. As far as postseasons are concerned, and I love them all, Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, NHL, but the NHL postseason is one of the most special, one of the most exciting, one of the most intense postseasons that there is. Joe V's checking in. This is fun. He says NHL needs an A-Raj, I'm assuming an Aaron Rodgers, for daily icy D-bag moves. That would be kind of funny. It would be the Aaron Rodgers daily icy D-bag move.
I guess we'd be going to like the goon era of hockey, I guess is where you think he might be going with that. I'm not really sure. Yeah.
No, I was just thinking, I think he's using it as, this at least is the way that I'm seeing it, using it as a way to use Aaron Rodgers, right?
Oh, okay.
To bring up D-bag moves in hockey. So if the NHL had a daily icy D-bag move brought to you by Aaron Rodgers.
I got you.
Maybe that's what Joe V is working on here. All right. We are working on a number of things here on the Sports Carnival this morning. We're going to be working on Matt Janus, UWL head football coach, joining the program coming up at 8:30. This is running back week at UWL. The UWL Eagles have had some really good running backs over the last couple of years, including one Mr. Joey Stutzman. This is a position that when Mike Schmidt and Matt Janus came to the U, didn't really seem to be developed, and now seems to be one of the strongest parts of the UW offense. So we'll talk to Matt about why and how that particular position continues to develop. We're also getting closer and closer to the Eagles' trip to Italy. I also want to fold Matt into this question, and I've got this for you as well. With all the talk being around the number 1 pick going to Carolina, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, who's it going to be? What about the Bears at number 9? Do you really think that the kid from Georgia now is going to fall all the way to 9 just because the Bears are sitting there? Now that he's just going to do probation, isn't there a real chance this dude moves up to the top 2, top 3 picks? So we'll get your thoughts as well as Matt Janus, both being Bear fans on that. We've also got the Wisconsin Badgers coming back into action tonight versus the Oregon Ducks in the Elite 8 of the NIT. I've got a feeling on how this game is going to work out. Jason P1 Breacher and I were actually texting about it this morning. I'll let you know what that feeling is. If you want to make some money on tonight's Badger and Oregon game, do what I'm going to do. Go to betus.com. If you haven't signed up yet, enter promo code Carnival and get yourself that 125% free play money on deposit, because I think there's going to be some money to be made by playing this game. And you don't have to bet against the Badgers. Little preview. So stay tuned. Matt and I are locked and loaded here on the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio, back in about a minute and a half. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
At the Little Doobie's Pizza, we kill 2 stone birds with 1 rock every time with our hand-rolled Doobie Deluxe for only $49.95. That's a street value of over $75.
No way!
The Doobie Deluxe is a hand-rolled 18-inch pizza that will blow your bone-resonant mind.
Whoa!
Topped with the sausage, black olives, extra cheese, and about a half ounce of the finest kush at east side of San Bernardino.
Dude, give me another slice.
Because at Little Doobie's Pizza, we put a little TLC in our THC.
And right now, for a limited time only, get an order of crazy cannabis bread for only $10 with an order of a Doobie Deluxe at the street value of over $22.50.
You know what we say at the Little Doobie's Pizza? Why get stoned then eat when you can do both at the same time?
Doobies.
And welcome back to the Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room. This is the Sports Carnival. Hope you guys and gals are off to a great start wherever you are, however it is that you may be listening to the program or watching it today. Surely do appreciate your participation. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. That's where you can watch us live. You can pick up the podcast on every single major podcast platform in the world. So if you're on Spotify, if you're on iTunes, if you're on Pandora, go ahead and subscribe to the Sports Carnival for all your listening pleasure. Matt, I mentioned that Matt Janus, UW head coach, is going to be jumping aboard the Sports Carnival carousel at about 8:30 this morning. I've got a poll question, though, on our Facebook group page, as well as our Twitter feed, at the Sports Carney and the Sports Carnival Facebook group page, that I'd love to get your thoughts on. So we're sitting around waiting with bated breath for Aaron Rodgers to get traded to the Jets, which most people think is going to happen, right? The guy's getting traded to the Jets. Fine. What is your confidence level with the Packers front office? Because Jeff Schneider, good friend of the program, Schneider Tax and Accounting, says that if Brian Gutekunst and the Packers front office don't get at least a first-round pick for Aaron Rodgers, that Goody should be fired immediately, like walked out of the building at 1265 Lombardi and told to get his shit, and we'll see you later. Also, somebody mentioned to me that he should be denied unemployment if he actually doesn't get a first-round pick for Rodgers. So what is your confidence level with the Packers front office? Now, I'll look at our Twitter feed first, Matt. We've got 43.8% of respondents so far saying they have no confidence. 37.5% say they have medium confidence. Only 18.8% say they've got full confidence. Now, taking a look over here at our Facebook group page, let me update it here real quick. Make sure that we get the most recent poll results. Taking a look at our Facebook group page, we have 40%. It's a tie right now. No confidence and medium confidence, 20% for full confidence. Listen, I understand that you're not a Packer fan, but you do understand professional football. Your brother works in the league as a scout. What is your level of confidence without wearing green and gold glasses and all this shit? What's your level of confidence realistically with the Packers front office?
Well, you brought it up right there. I consider myself a sports realist. I would go medium confidence overall at the current situation where we're at. There's a lot of things that are going to happen with Rodgers going forward. You could throw the same question out to all the Jets fans. Where's your confidence in the Jets going forward with your front office, depending on whether they should trade for him or not? Going with back to Aaron Rodgers, I'd go medium confidence. I have more than. It's not a no confidence vote for me, I guess, is where I'm at on that. I believe with what they're going in the right direction. They're going to try to get what they can for Aaron and just move forward. It's about time. It's been a long time coming.
I believe this is Jeff checking in here with us on our Facebook group page saying that UWL should also consider revoking Goody's college degree.
That is Jeff.
Yes, Jeff, that was fun. And while the hot take artist in me wants to say that you're right and flamethrow this thing, I got to tell you, I've got somewhere between medium and full confidence in the Packers front office. And the reason why is this. The Packers, and you don't have to like this because we're from Wisconsin, so I'm going to say something. You don't have to agree with me. The Packers are not and never will be a free agent destination. The one time a free agent came to this team of any note was because God told him to come. Okay. All right. We can debate the veracity of those arguments and claims too. Reggie White was the only major notable free agent. Charles Woodson, fine. Way late in his career. I'm talking about an impact player. And yes, Woodson still had a great season with the Packers.
Reggie also the first?
Yes, he was the first free agent
ever.
Yes,
exactly.
Okay. So we have that, right? He came from Philadelphia to Green Bay. And awesome for him because Brett Favre, the whole collection, we know the story. 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 victory. It was amazing time to be a Packer fan. But outside of Reggie White, there has not been a name free agent. You could throw Zadarius Smith, I guess, if you want to say Woodson. But again, I think that he was so late in his career, that feels like it was the job that he got offered, right? Like, I don't know who was knocking down the door to get Woodson at that point.
Well, didn't he change positions too? Didn't he go from cornerback to safety
for
the Packers as well? So
basically.
It was towards the end of his
because
career.
He couldn't play quarterback anymore.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So my point is that outside of Reggie White, there is no free agent destination in Green Bay. So how do the Packers go about getting these Hall of Fame players, which they have got plenty of? They draft these guys. They develop them. I understand that Brian Gutekunst, the handling of the Aaron Rodgers situation can look a certain way to certain guys. I really do. Because when Brian Gutekunst and this Packers brain trust essentially traded up to get Jordan Love, I mean, not even fucking Jalen Hurts, but Jordan Love, it landed with a thud. Joe DeGuano and we go back to this well all the time, but we had that conversation on draft day. Said, don't draft this dude. Not the position, but don't draft this dude. So you have that. There were a couple of times in which I thought the Packers missed on some pretty obvious plays. TJ Watt was one. They went for Kevin King. I mean, TJ Watt's just sitting there. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor. They went for A.J. Dillon. I think I would have taken Jonathan Taylor ahead of maybe even Jordan Love and tried to put up, you could have taken a quarterback in a different spot than you did Jordan Love. So I don't disagree that that wasn't the right play. But at the end of the day, to steal and borrow from our good friend Joe, is there anything more impactful that a GM could do, even if it was not necessarily in the game plan, but to inspire his quarterback to go out and play 2 MVP seasons of football and to give the team, at least on paper, a puncher's chance to go to the Super Bowl? To me, that's what you hire a GM for. If the drafting of Jordan Love makes net zero on the field, but got 2 MVP seasons from Rodgers, and let's say one of those seasons had gotten them to a Super Bowl and they won, dude, Jordan Love was worth the first-round pick all day, every day, and twice on draft day, to me. Now, it didn't work out that way, so we're looking at it a bit differently. But I think that Brian Gutekunst and the Packers, Russ Ball, Mark Murphy, Milt Henriksen, Matt LaFleur, to whatever degree he's involved, have done a great job in many respects of identifying positions of need. Think of Aaron Jones, right? Think of A.J. Dillon, that they saw they could develop and turn into real stud players. A.J. Dillon wasn't looked at a guy that could catch a pass out of college. He caught 1 pass at Boston College, I think, in his entire career. A.J. Dillon's got great hands. He works great out of the backfield. So I've got more confidence in this Packers front office than many of you. But, Jeff, I thought of you when I was putting this poll question together this morning, because I know that if the Packers don't get a first-round pick, you will start to see some cheeseheads rolling. I mean, you really will. There will be some fucking fondue through the streets of Green Bay, because there's going to be some melting heads.
Well, and where I'm at with this, I'll go back to the same well I go all the time. I would love to know where this answer would be in our polls if they had one primary owner. It's the only team in the league that doesn't have one guy to yell and pull one,
only team in sports, Matt.
Yep, exactly. So I want to know if this confidence in the Packers would be different for all these fans if they actually had one guy to just blame it all on, instead of going through the crew of Mark Murphy, LaFleur.
That's fair.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That's fair, because there's really not just one central head to point to, because even with Mark Murphy, you still talk to a board. Now, the player personnel decisions aren't relegated to the board. The board has no say in that.
Right.
But from an overall perspective, I think that that's some of what...
I mean, Jerry Jones fucks it up all the time, but it'd be nice to have one owner, I guess, to be there.
I
Plus,
guess,
also the general
listen,
manager.
it could work 2 different ways, though. You could really enjoy what your owner does, and say they put you like Robert Kraft in amazing positions year after year. Or you could have the Davis family, which looked good for a while, right? Al Davis was a genius for a while, and then look what happened. Jerry Jones bought a team that was just about to take the next step, got a great coach in Jimmy Johnson, take the next step. Let me fire him and get Barry Switzer in. They haven't won anything in 35 years.
For every Robert Kraft, there's a Daniel Snyder.
God, Daniel Snyder, you want to talk about an arch fucking criminal. All right, I'm gonna put a pin in this, because I'm gonna bring Daniel Snyder back into the conversation. Rob Dog from Stoddard is checking in this morning, Matt, and says this, though, because he is a Bear fan, long lamenting Bear fan in Stoddard, which I think there are 2 of you in Stoddard, you, Rob, and one other person. So Rob says, sorry, Packer fans, but your front office is still more confident than the Bears in my lifetime. And welcome to the reality, Packer fans, and not Expectationville. And please don't fuck up the draft polls. So that's Rob Dog and Stoddard.
Yeah, everybody's going to have their opinion. Nobody knows. You and I talked over the draft. It's a crapshoot. You never know what the hell you're going to get. I just think Poles did the right thing so far moving forward. It's now up to follow what your scouts told you what to do, and hopefully whoever they draft is the right decision or move down. You know?
Okay. But that's the same thing we're talking about with Green Bay.
Yeah, it's every
right?
team. It's every team.
It's the confidence in the front office isn't just the GM, right? You mentioned the scouts. It's everybody. I mean, it's player personnel. It's advanced scouting. It's college scouting. It's NFL scouting. It's your coaching staff. What kind of coaching staff do you have? Who are the guys they can develop? This is the thing about coaching that I think gets overlooked too. You know, we were talking about it last week or maybe even yesterday. Sometimes you get guys that are head coaches, college, NFL football, and they think, all right, I'm going to bring you into my system and my style. In high school football, that's absolutely the way it works and probably always will, because these are undeveloped children, right? You're talking 14 to 17-year-olds or 14 to 18-year-olds maybe. Okay, so those are children. You're going to run the coach's style. We don't even know what you're good at yet, right? Unless you're Michael Vick or something. Right. Okay, we don't even know what you're good at yet, so you're going to play our way, and then you figure it out. But there are teams that for whatever reason are steadfast in that they only play and only go about business a certain way.
Josh McDaniels, the Raiders. He's the Patriot way. He's fucking it up.
Well, the Patriot way, I think, is developed. I thought that was more of like how they talk about. I didn't know that had anything to do with football.
Well, just the way the players that they bring in, the environment they want to have. You can see, like, I guess in my opinion, almost every former Patriot assistant coach is never going to be Bill Belichick, because they've always just tried to do what Bill Belichick does.
Sure.
And that's what Josh McDaniels is doing. I'm sorry, with your Raiders right now. He's
with my Raiders.
Well,
you mean Tim's Raiders?
Well, the Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, Tim's Raiders.
Yeah.
We have a good friend, Tim, comes to the bar often. Tim, your Raiders. Not my Raiders, your Raiders. Okay, I don't know that the Patriot way is bad, because that's a pretty good example. I mean, that's a fairly successful franchise. You have 10 Super Bowls in the last 30 years.
For Belichick, but not for any of his assistants, not for...
The coaching tree hasn't worked out, but the Patriot way you can't say would be wrong, because he's still with the Patriots.
Right, I'm just saying everybody else that's trying to implement the Patriot way after they leave, like McDaniels, Russell, Cronell,
Romeo Crennel.
Yeah, all these guys.
Well, see now, okay, and I can't argue that because I don't know that they tried to do that. So I don't know what I don't know what they tried to bring into the system. I guess what I was saying is that some coaches, college or pro, try to fit you into their system. Others look at you and say, okay, how can we get you to work with your best talents and abilities?
Right.
Okay, that was my only major point. So in that respect, some guys are going to be more difficult to put into places than others. Lamar Jackson's one of them. Aaron Rodgers could be one of them because he's a certain kind of talent. Back to the poll question then, because so back to the poll question. What is your confidence level with the Packers front office? If you haven't yet jumped in on it, go to our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney, or if you're on our Facebook group page, take this morning's poll question there, because I'd like to get your thoughts. You already heard from Jess Schneider. He says Brian Gutekunst should have his UWL diploma revoked. Absolutely no unemployment should be offered to the man, and he's got no confidence. It's also starting to even out here on our Facebook group page. We have Paul Michael Weber putting this in here. Lost confidence. Full confidence is 24%. Medium confidence, 30%. No confidence, 39%. Speaking of coaches, though, because we've got the poll question going up there. We'll talk to Coach Matt Janus of the UW Eagles coming up at about 8:30 this morning. Speaking of coaches, you put something up on our Facebook group page yesterday, and I just want to take a little segue here because it's a coaching conversation, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Because, again, I think this is where sometimes narrative, headlines, and things like that infiltrate our ideas of what it is that we're talking about. Rick Pitino yesterday took the St. John's job. So he goes from Iona, right, where he's led them to 2 out of 3 years going to the NCAA tournament. They haven't won anything, but they just lost. So he goes from Iona to St. John's. Now, he got to Iona by virtue of Greece. He was in Greece because the NCAA, naughty, arbiters of all things fair and right and just and good in this world, snowflakes and kittens and little virgin girls, the NCAA told Rick Pitino, thanks to a fucked up FBI investigation, that he had to leave town. They essentially fired Rick Pitino because the FBI was investigating him for things that they thought he did wrong, that he was in a bribery scandal. Well, this was all bullshit. None of it turned out to be true. The FBI and the independent investigative group that came back said that Rick Pitino fostered an environment of compliance with Louisville. He had to vacate 123 wins and a national championship, was disgraced and thrown out of his job. You put something on our Facebook group page, well, I guess this is another crooked coach back at it. What is crooked about Rick Pitino? I want to know, what is it about Rick Pitino that is crooked?
Maybe I shouldn't have used the word corrupt. I should use the word scandalous, if that would have been a better word for you to go around, because everywhere he goes.
That's a much different word.
But I guess
corrupt and scandalous are much different.
Usually corruption follows a scandal. I'm just going with that.
Scandal follows corruption.
Okay.
Okay.
But apples, oranges, but yeah, I guess we're on that. But even when he started out, his first job was at Hawaii, and he got implicated in shit in the 70s. Then you have all these things going on Louisville, what happened at Kentucky, everywhere.
What happened at Kentucky? That's what I mean. Like, what happened? What happened at Louisville? Nothing. There were rumors. There were reports. Nothing happened.
I guess wherever there's smoke, there's fire. Calipari's the same way. These guys, which now they can do it legally because of the NIL, have been buying players or, going out and getting players for other teams for 1-year wonders, which is great because the guys come in, make their money, they get the tournaments, and they go on to the NBA. It's just everything that he has touched. I'll go to college football. Lou Holtz, also scandalous and dirty. There's a lot of coaches out there that have done a lot of crazy things. You had the coach that was from Arkansas that had the assistant on his bicycle. There's all the you have sorry, who are we talking about again right now?
We're talking about Rick Pitino.
So yeah, there's also the scandal with the ladies of the night.
Well, that was all part of the original FBI investigation,
right,
which they found that Rick Pitino didn't have anything to do with. Now, here's what I would say.
You just think he's like clean as can be?
Oh, I don't know about clean as can be. I think that when I look at the definition of coaches that are doing things that I would say are unscrupulous, unwarranted, uncalled for, and out of bounds, I look at guys like Rick Paterno or Joe Paterno, okay, allowing a sexual predator to not only take part in his football program, but to come around a host of children and to do it over and over and over again for many, many years. I look at something like that. Bobby Knight getting physical with the children on his program, choking them, throwing chairs at them, trying to, big dog him. By the way, I would tell this to Bobby Knight's face too, by the way. If I was 16 or something like that, you put your fucking hands on me, I'm going to kill you. Like, I don't care if you're my coach or not. You put your fucking hands on me and we're going to have a little trouble. Okay. I'll fuck you up. Like, you could be my boss or whatever. We're having a big problem. Don't put your fucking hands on me. But guys like that, those are the ones that are unscrupulous, unwarranted. The thing with Rick Pitino is this. He's won where he went, Kentucky. Yes. He didn't win in the NBA. He didn't win with New York. He didn't win with Boston. So there was that. I think that
they kicked him out of the country.
Okay. He left the country because, again, of a failed investigation that netted absolutely zero. He was convicted of nothing. They found you can read the articles. There's absolutely nothing that the FBI or the independent investigative group concluded that he did. That's why he was allowed to go back and coach D1 college basketball. Okay. There was nothing to it. I think the University of Louisville, for all of what it was worth with that whole investigation, paid a $5,000 fine. A $5,000 fine. The biggest thing that Louisville, and really the stench that got left on Rick Pitino, was the fact that the NCAA, again, a board of fucking criminals themselves,
right,
revoked their national championship. I watched that national championship. I saw it played. Rick Pitino was, in many respects, a victim of his own success. Again, when you get to be when you're on a certain portion of the mountain, if it's not even the top, if it's one of the plateaus that's right there, you've always got somebody trying to shoot you down. You've always got, somebody trying to tear you down. And listen, just because it's said doesn't mean it's true. And this is something that I've talked about many times. Just because somebody says, you did this, that doesn't mean it's true. It does not mean it's true. And I'll never forget Jim Fossil, rest in peace, big guy. We were doing the show on ESPN in Vegas when the Duke lacrosse scandal first broke out. And man, this was salacious and big news. You know what? And Matt, it feels like this is a time in which we want to, really lambaste these guys, because listen to all these reports that were coming out. And Fossil said, look, I'm not going to talk about this until we find out if this is true. And the day and age in which we live, many things he said, paraphrasing, are going to be found to be not true. That's exactly what happened. Those
look
Duke
out.
lacrosse players did nothing wrong.
We better look out for Brett Favre too, then, I guess, my friend.
Look out for him for what? Is he going to try to sue us?
He's going after Pat McAfee, Bomani
Good
Jones,
luck.
and Shannon
Dude,
Sharp.
the best thing that could ever happen to us, I will tell you this without equivocation, the very best thing that could ever happen to this show right here is to be sued by Brett Favre. I don't know that anybody could do us a bigger favor than that.
For the ride. That'd be fun.
My God, the free publicity? Are you kidding me? I would pay him to sue us. When we come back, Matt Janus, UWL football coach, will be jumping aboard the Sports Carnival Carousel. Stay tuned. Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home, or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
Hey, it's time for koozies, hot tub, and jacuzzis in downtown La Crosse. Whether you're looking to relax after a hard day's work, or maybe you're up for a little soak and poke, we got you covered. That's right, when you're in the market for a hot tub or jacuzzi, all you have to do is call the Coos. 555-SOAK. That's 555-7625.
Soak and poke is a slang term for hot tub sex.
Please practice responsibly.
And I want to make sure all of our, young folks at the university remember to practice that hot tub sex responsibly. Remember, you're too young to have kids yourselves. Wait until you're at least 30. Take it from a guy who knows. All right, joining the program here is the UWL football coach, one of our favorite guests here on a weekly basis, the clean shaven. My goodness.
Yeah.
Matt Janus this morning looking as fresh as the spring dew. And maybe that's because yesterday at 4:24 p.m. here in the Central Time Zone, Matt, it was officially spring. Is that why we have a freshly clean-shaven Matt Janus, head coach?
Didn't think of that way, but I guess you could say it was just time. I really can't grow a beard. It just kind of comes in all patchy and everything. So eventually it just gets to that ugly stage. It's like, all right, it's time to stop being lazy and get this down. But yeah, spring's here. It felt good yesterday. Weather felt good. We'll be when a week from Sunday we'll be back out on the field.
I cannot believe this. A week from Sunday, back out on the field. Hopefully the fields are dry. I don't see a ton of rain in our future, but we do have something coming in over the next couple of nights, which I think is actually great because we get a little bit of rain, then we get the sun, then we start to get some green, and then you guys get to really dig in with those cleats. Matt, let me start off with this question for you because I saw it on social media. Again, follow the Eagles on social media. Really fun social media follow, especially the football team, which you guys are doing so much with right now. It's running back week at UW. So we talked quarterbacks a couple of weeks ago. Running back week at UW is an interesting one because I mentioned early this morning on the program that when you and Mike took over the program, at least from the outside view, it didn't feel like the running back position was one that you really had sewed up, right? There were still a lot of questions at running back and how you guys were going to go about really developing that running game. You tried. You kept it going with attempts, but there wasn't a clear, system. This is how we're running. With Joey Stutzman, with Kaiser Helterbrand, with some of the guys that you've got even behind Joey over the last 3-4 years particularly, your running attack's been one of the best in the entire conference, right? So now we're looking at a team in the Eagles that kind of, at least again from the outside looking in, are built with the run game thought of first. What was that change? How did you guys go about developing that position specifically?
Yeah, it took some time, and obviously it kind of goes hand in hand with our offensive line group and where it took time. And obviously, you talked about when Mike came in, and then I took over in 2020, and it just took some time. We needed to add some depth and to that group, and it just like we had to do up front. And obviously you get a phenomenal player. We got Joey. I think he was, what was he? A 2017, 2018 class, high school class, I want to say. So we got Joey involved in that group, and Joey really took a majority of the carries for us for 3 years, really for 3 straight years. He's a tremendous player, was the WIAC Offensive Player of the Year, really had a tremendous career for us. But, as we've gone through the time, and especially over the last couple of years, it's been about creating the depth at that position. And obviously, we were lucky with the amount of for this year, especially that Joey stayed healthy. And we had that health, but it was still, no matter what, it was about developing the depth behind Joey. And so as we go into this year, and although we lose Joey, and he's obviously a tremendous player, phenomenal pass blocker, he does so many little things, as a leader and all that, he leaves, but we feel really good about where that position is. And obviously, as the team changes, it's going to start with Brant Bowman, who's going to be a senior, and Brant has taken a lot of carries through us over the last couple of years as Joey's kind of number 2 guy. And so now as we look, and Brant's a phenomenal receiver. He runs at such a different pace than Joey did. And I thought they were such a great 1-2 punch, because where Joey was more shifty and had the vision, Brant was much, much more of a downhill. Here I go, one cut down runner. And we saw some guys really emerge last year. We had a really good 3 freshmen come in that recruiting class, and they actually started getting carries towards the end of the year. And a few of them have actually already scored touchdowns for us. And Gabe Lynch, as a freshman from kind of the northwest suburbs of Illinois. And now he'll be much more involved in that group, as the years go on. But we have a really good player in Gabe. Dio Oye is another player from St. Croix Falls. I'm sorry. He's going to be, he ran a 4.4 the other day. And I think he squats well over 500 pounds. So he's going to bring more of that outside zone type. Yeah, he's a freak. So him and Gabe, with that group are going to be really good players. Braden Ott was another freshman for us last year that we were really high on. And then we actually brought in a transfer from Caledonia, Jack Beardmore, who, watching him kind of move around and seeing him this offseason, we're really excited about as well. And then to cap it off, the running back class coming in to this year is the best that we've ever had. It is a big group. It's going to be about 8 players in that group. It's going to be a big running back group. It's going to be a big running back room, but because of the stuff that we're doing, and because we're so run heavy, we need that position to be filled. And so we're really excited about the young guys that we have coming in to kind of match with these 4 and 5 on campus right now.
Well, that's what it felt like when you and Mike really first took over the U, is that there wasn't that developed depth, right? You didn't have a whole roster full of running backs to be able to work into that into the play call. Do you have a specific number, Matt, and maybe this is an offensive question, but you would know, do you have a specific number of runs that you try to execute every game? Like, is your goal to run the ball 30 times? Is it to run the ball 25 times? Do you run this by virtue of how the game is actually being played? If you're down, obviously you're going to have to throw the ball a bit more. What's the way that you like to integrate the run game on a percentage basis?
A lot of that depends, Dave, on what the defense has given us, to be honest. We're so heavily RPO based that almost every single one of our run plays has pass built in, right? And so there's different reads that go on the quarterback, whether it's pre or post snap. So I don't ever give, Coach McGuire a number and say that we got to pass this many times, we got to run it this many times. I always tell our guys, do what's the matter to win. So that's really all I care about. But we don't have a split number, but a lot of that's going to depend, especially on normal down and distance. A lot of that's going to depend on, what is the defense giving us? How are they going to play different quarterbacks? And that's where, some of that 2 quarterback system that we had and that we'll probably look to continue to use here when you force defenses to have to play, Kaiser Heltebrand different than they'd have to play Cade Garcia, for instance. And so that's going to involve different coverages and, different tags that we can use in our RPO game with our receivers to exploit, if they're going to go run heavy and try to stop the run, that we're going to be able to throw behind them or throw different routes behind them. So to answer your question, it's going to depend on really what the defense gives us. But with that room, we feel pretty comfortable. And, I think that room's going to be pretty deep where we're going to be using 4 to 5 running backs a game.
Coach, I'm going to switch over to the NFL, do not necessarily some Bears talk right off the bat. I know Dave has some questions for you too. But I guess, did you happen to see any news on Jalen Carter's pro day workout at all?
I did. Yeah, that's I don't know how you screw that up, but yeah. That's just, he had I think, was it Todd McShay came out and kind of said that maybe like a month or 2 ago that there's some red flags on his character, and everybody kind of went haywire on that. And you kind of piece together now, and he has this incident with with the death and the road racing. And then, you show up out of shape to your pro day and you can't finish. That's that's a huge red flag. Now, obviously, the tape that he puts on and the tape that he has at Georgia is really, really freaking good. But when a D lineman shows up out of shape and you can't finish your own pro day, like that's millions and millions of dollars, that's a major red flag right there.
So, fellas, I didn't actually see this in between all the other stuff that we had going on this weekend. So Jalen Carter, the guy that was presumptively the number one pick, at least by talent, before this year's NFL draft, and then of course we know what happened with his tragedies, has now slipped down. He didn't finish his pro day. So, like, what part of it did he crap out on?
He didn't do any of his. He only did position drills. He didn't do any like athletic testing.
That's not good.
He showed up 9 pounds
overweight. Yeah,
and just looked way underperformed and way out of shape.
Looked tired. Yeah.
So let me ask you guys then this question, because I did want to ask your thoughts about the Bears and the draft position now, number 9. Matt, we talked to you last week, and we're not entirely sure the Bears are done. They might draft back up. They could ostensibly trade back up into the draft. But do you think that Jalen Carter is going to be there at 9 now, especially with this tape? B, would you take him at 9, considering what you just talked about?
I still would. I mean, I just think I mean, I would if he falls down to 9, which is probably, now you're starting to look at where that could go. I mean, I know there's a massive risk in that, but their need for defensive linemen is so great that I don't know if you can pass it up. And, you look at this draft, and I obviously haven't broken into all the mock drafts and all that yet, but there seems to be only 2. There's Will Anderson from Alabama, and then there's Jalen Carter. I mean, those are the only 2 that they really kind of talk about in the top 10 of defensive linemen. Now, obviously, I know there's more as the draft goes on, but if you try to make a guy that can have an immediate impact and skill set and size, I just think their need at defensive line, outweighs that, and hopefully you can get rid of the rest of the character flag. But yeah, I'm still, the Bears still need to take him if he's there.
Well, this is going to be an interesting one because the talent, like we've said on tape anyways, from all of the experts, and I'll be fair, I don't watch that position group with as much detail because we don't have the all 11 views for this. I don't have coaching films, so it's harder to see what a defensive lineman and offensive lineman's doing in a game just by the television view, so I can't tell as much. He doesn't pop like Jadeveon Clowney did coming out of South Carolina, so there's that. But if he does fall to the Bears, I guess you would probably be, if you're a GM, Ryan Poles, you'd probably be crazy not to take the guy with the most talent. I know this isn't an apples-to-apples comparison, but Robert Williams plays for the Celtics right now. This was a guy that in basketball had a lot of the same issues, seemingly, that Jalen Carter did. Didn't come to his pro day in shape, was late for his first team meeting, like actually woke up late and didn't get on the plane. And turns out he's a pretty important player for that Boston team. Matt, before we let you go this morning, and again, encouraging our viewers to check you guys out on social media, because the Eagles' social media, especially for football, just continues to deliver some really cool content on a daily basis. I am curious to get your thoughts on this question this morning, because GM Brian Gutekunst is a UW alumni. I don't think that they've done a bad job, the Packers front office, over the last number of years. I think they have done an admirable job, considering the fact that Green Bay is not a free agent destination. I mean, there may be, amongst NFL teams, a few teams that are probably looked at as the least desirable. Buffalo, Green Bay, that's kind of like the 2 least desirable places to go. Smaller towns, really fucking cold, right? So in that particular respect, you've got to do a good job of drafting and developing, making key trades. I think the Packers front office has done a really pretty good job over the last couple of years. The question I've got for the audience members this morning is, what is their level of confidence in the Packers front office, with some like Jeff Schneider from Schneider Tax and Accounting calling for the revocation of Brian Gutekunst's degree from UWL, also unemployment benefits being stricken from him if he doesn't get a first-round pick? Full confidence, medium confidence, no confidence. I mean, if you're a Packer fan, which you're not, but you're an outsider looking in, what confidence level would you say the Packers front office deserves at this point?
I'm all full confidence. I mean, I think they drafted really good. I think, like even some guys like, I was like Rashawn Gary, right? Like I was kind of like, and then he turns out to be that. And I just think their drafts have been really good. Now, obviously everything for them is going to center around what Jordan Love does, right? Like you're just tied to that pick. But right now, I mean, why wouldn't you wait this thing out? Like the Jets are screwed. Like the Jets are the ones in trouble. Like there's no pressure on the Packers, because he's not going to play for the Packers next year. The Packers don't want to play for the Packers next year. So why wouldn't you wait this thing out and to see what you can get for it, iron out the draft picks, get the Jets to take over the contract? Like there is absolutely no rush on this whatsoever because he's not going to play in Green Bay. Like there is no coming to sides that this thing doesn't work out with the Jets. And the Jets, they're the ones like, and I know Mark Murphy said it and the other guys said it, that they don't want Rodgers around, but the Jets are the ones who are screwed right now. Like they're the ones who are in trouble. They have no quarterback on their roster. And now everybody thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to come there. Aaron Rodgers has publicly stated that he wants to play for the New York Jets. All the pressure is on the New York Jets. So they can hold out and they can keep trying to make this more difficult, whether they don't want to give the second first rounder or whatever the case may be. But the pressure's on the Jets. So if I'm the Packers, I'll wait this thing out as long as I possibly want to.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on this one, man. I really am. And Matt, from the Recov, and I've been talking about this a lot recently. You know, Rodgers, as a football player, his talent is unquestioned. As a poker player, this dude is a sucker because he seriously just upended any sort of hand of leverage the Jets would have had and gave it right to the Packers. I think the Packers, you know, back to the question, the front office, I think, has done a very good job. You've got to play the hand that you're dealt. At the time in which the Packers drafted Jordan Love, Rodgers was in decline. They had to fire Mike McCarthy mid-season. That was a bad football team, and Rodgers looked bad. Now, Matt LaFleur comes back in. He wins 2 MVPs. Okay, great. But at the end of the day, it didn't look like he was playing too great, and the Packers needed to have some sort of backup plan. Now we're going to get to see if that backup plan is actually a good one. That'll be Brian Gutekunst's real and true legacy. Was Jordan Love a good backup plan? If it turns out to not be the case, then all the good things that he's done, I bet you, in a lot of ways, Matt, will be kind of washed aside. If Jordan Love is terrible, people will remember Brian Gutekunst for that more than Jair Alexander, more than Rashawn Gary, more than signing Za'Darius or Preston Smith, more than any of those things, he'll be remembered for Jordan Love.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know, I think if you're a Packers fan, I mean, I think you certainly saw the improvement. You know, is he going to come out and be Aaron Rodgers right out of the gates? I don't know, but you certainly saw improvement with him last year in the limited amount of time from the 2 years. Like, you saw massive improvement. You know, I think they're doing the right thing. They're going to try to put a great run game around him, which you have the pieces. Now, just maybe run the ball on 3rd and 1 would be my only thing instead of Jeff.
Packers fans everywhere saying that.
They restructured to make sure that Jones is still around and going to be around for him. You have Dillon still. So they've restructured some of that. They can get that offensive line to be healthy, and you can give them a run game with an offensive line for a young quarterback. I mean, that's all the pieces there. And then you just got to look at probably going after, you know, I'm sure they're going to go after another tight end, right? A tight end. And then they're going to have to, you know, probably try to, you know, I think free agency in my mind, it's like it's already done, right? The market's closed. Like, you know, these guys that are still hanging around aren't getting what they want. But you certainly got to continue to find wide receiver pieces that they did. And then they certainly were able to find one in the 2nd round in Watson. I mean, that's a good piece to move forward here. So I think they're certainly doing the right things. And I don't think Jordan Love is going to be terrible. No, it's just, is he going to be Aaron Rodgers great, or is he going to be kind of a middle of the pack NFL player, right? Or NFL quarterback?
And at this point in time, I look at the NFL, and we've had these conversations too, fellas. I don't know that it matters. There are seminal talents. There's generational quarterbacks, Burrows, Mahomes, and that's great, and they'll get you there. But we've also seen Nick Foles win a Super Bowl. We've seen Blake Bortles knock on the door for a Super Bowl. We've seen Jared Goff go to a Super Bowl. Matt Stafford, again, great talent, but he's got a Super Bowl. I don't think you need to be Aaron Rodgers anymore. The hero nature of being a quarterback, I think, needed to exist in a time in which football was much more dangerous sport. Ronnie Lott was like, sure, pass over the middle. See what happens. We're in a different spot. So I think you're right. Jordan Love, he doesn't have to be Rodgers. Will he be? Probably not. 85% he won't be that. But either way, I think the Packers are going to be fine. And Packer fans, I know I talk a lot of smack about Rodgers. Relax. I think the front office has done a good job. And UWL should not consider revoking Gutekunst's his degree. He's done a very good job. The valor is there.
Exactly. Exactly.
Go Eagles.
Yep.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles, you guys. I'll see you guys later.
We'll talk to you next week, buddy.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices. Saying what's up to our friends, Tony and Brian, Preferred Insurance, 4th Street, downtown La Crosse, your home, business, flood, auto insurance provider, and they get the best rates because they get to talk to all of the nation's biggest carriers. Our good buddy, Sean O'Neill, the O'Neill Law Firm downtown on 5th Street, is the official attorney of the program. Bankruptcy, family, criminal matters. Sean's your guy. And our buddy Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, the official real estate partner of the program. If you're buying, if you're selling, if you're investing in real estate, talk to my friend Kyle. Guy is sharp as a tack. His dad, Kenny, of course, was the former UWL basketball coach for 16 seasons, I want to say. Kent Dernbach taking over now and doing a great job. I feel bad for Kent Dernbach. We just got off the line with Matt Janus, UW football coach. You know, we give the UWL football team a real boost, it feels like. Every time we had Coach Kent Dernbach on the program, the Eagles fucking lost. Rob Dog, actually from Stoddard, or maybe it was Thomas from UW, said that if the Eagles advanced in the postseason, we were not allowed to talk to Coach Dernbach anymore. But I digress. Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, he's my man. And Matt, we got a lot of stuff to talk about because Kyle's got real estate opportunities and investments popping up all over the place. And, you know, I think when spring really sort of gets going, because we just had the first day of spring yesterday, we'll start to see more and more houses start to come back on the market. People aren't like me. If you didn't need to move during the middle of a Wisconsin winter, you didn't.
Right.
Okay, that's a need thing. And Kyle was able to sell my house in the middle of winter. We were able to make the move, and it was seamless. But if you don't need to move during the middle of winter, you don't. So now we're going to start to see a lot more properties, you'd imagine, starting to come on the market again. If you've got your eye on something that you need to buy, maybe you need to get out, you're downsizing, or you've got to upsize or upgrade, Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate. And of course, for all of our betting needs, this is 100% legal. You're not going to get in trouble. I talked about it last week with John Papadopoulos on ESPN 105.5. Sometimes I get questions like, Dave, is this stuff legal with BetUS? Yes, it's legal. BetUS.com. Enter promo code Carnival. When you make your initial deposit, you'll get a free 125% deposit match in your sportsbook deposit. Thanks to all our friends. Joe Sampson, Helping Hands Landscaping as well. Appreciate you for all of what you do for us. So, listen, we talked to Matt Janus. We talked about the Bears, the pick at number 9, Jalen Carter. I'm going back to this question that you and I had sort of kicked around this morning. With Jalen Carter, if in fact he is there at 9, you heard from Matt Janus, he's a coach. He's a defensive guy. He takes him. Says the Bears need this defensive line help. You take him. Where are you at with this? Because you seem to be much more moralistic in your approach to sports. Like Rick Pitino could be a dirty coach. Jalen Carter, I mean, maybe the guy should be in prison. Alabama shouldn't play basketball. So where are you with this? Like, would you still take this dude? Because on tape, at least from what we've seen from Georgia, he pops.
His tape during when he's playing, obviously, when he's healthy, he doesn't have everything going on. The kid pops. He reminds me a little bit of Aaron Donald.
Okay.
But I guess where I'm with
that's
that
a decent comp.
I don't know if he's
bigger, though, right?
Aaron Donald's bigger.
Well, Donald's short.
Well,
Donald's like 6 foot.
I guess this kid did just weigh in at 323, so I don't have an idea what Aaron Donald weighs.
Either way, he's got that pop. I agree.
So he's there with it. Looking at this current mock draft, it looks like he might go number 5 to Seattle. If he goes down to number 9 to the Bears, I see the Bears taking him. I think this all depends on how many quarterbacks go in the first 5-6 picks, whether or not he'll be there or not. Would I take him on the talent if his head's right? And Poles obviously has his interview with him and he goes with it. Yeah, I could definitely see the Bears taking him. And it's like Coach said, the Bears need interior line help on the defensive side of the ball.
So do you think, though, it's wishful thinking that he'll be around until the 9th pick? Because if in fact, okay, not just if in fact, the legal matter seems to be settled.
Yep.
Okay, he's paying a fine and he's doing 12 months of probation, which I read about in the state in which this violation occurred. Largely, that's what happens, right? You can serve up to 12 months in prison for this or jail, but most of the cases, and they said 90% of them are meted out through probation. Right. Fine. So that was largely always going to be the case. Do you think then, if the teams look at his tape, disregard his pro day, and maybe they say about the pro day, you know, he was dealing with all this other stuff, didn't have time to get himself into the proper shape, we'll give them a small pass. Maybe they say that, right? Because we know that really and truly it's the tape that you see on the field that does most of that evaluation. Do you think he lasts till 9? Because we're starting to see Todd Kuiper and Mel Kiper and Todd McShay say,
I like that though.
yeah, Todd Kuiper. Combination of these two guys, right? It's like Shaka Khan. Todd Kuiper, Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, they're starting to predict that there could be 4 quarterbacks gone in the first 5 picks.
Right.
I still think that's a bridge too far, but it's potential, right? There's a potential that happens. But once you start to get into pick 6, 7, 8, why would any of those teams pass on Jalen Carter then?
I don't think he falls that far down to the 9. I think this is honestly more of a mental thing.
Sure.
The kid is just going through a lot of crap that's happened in the last 6 months. Obviously, his talent is seen on the videotape. He's just got a time. He's going through a lot of shit. There's a couple deaths going on. He just went through this probation.
One of which he caused.
Well, yeah. There was a race going on, and we don't really know the whole details on how it. He was in a different car than they were. They were street racing. We don't really know all the details.
It's a bad idea, by the way. Yeah. UWL Thomas, Rob Dog from Stoddard, don't street race.
Nope.
Not a great idea.
I was going to take so back from this. So before we ran out of time, because we were talking Bet US, we got the Wisconsin game tonight. I was wondering where you're going to go on that game tonight.
So, okay. So that's a good one. And we can transition because I would say the odds that, and we'll use the word odds, the odds that Jalen Carter is around till the 9th pick, if everything's cleared up, which it feels like it is with his legal stuff, the odds that he's around to the 9th pick, I don't think are very likely. I really don't. So we'll see. If the Bears really want this guy, I think they need to jump up and probably get him. As far as the Badger game is concerned, I'm glad you did bring us back around to this because we've got the Badgers in Oregon tonight, the Elite 8 of the NIT. And while I didn't anticipate the Badgers accepting an invitation to the NIT, Michigan did. They looked really bad. They got bounced this last weekend as well. Michigan had a bad season with Juwan Howard. And I don't know that Juwan Howard ever really truly comes back from slapping Greg Gard.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like, you want to talk about a bad coach? Rick Pitino, say what you will, might have been accused of something naughty. We saw what the fuck Juwan Howard did, man. He slapped Greg Gard. So he Will Smith himself into a corner here. I don't know if he ever really comes back. But I didn't think the Badgers would take the invite. They did, and now they've moved on. They're in the NIT's Elite 8. They barely got past Liberty, a really tough team at home. So it gives me some pause, but needless to say, I'm happy for the Badgers. And if they win this thing, dude, I think the season doesn't end with such a stench. And Brad from Green Bay reached out, said the same thing yesterday. How do I feel about the game, though? Take the under. So Jason Breacher and I, P1 Breacher and I, were going back and forth about this morning. And we were talking about the Badgers' ineptitude at scoring. Well, the Ducks also are very, very inept at scoring. So check this out. If you're watching us, you can see the graphic. If you're not, I'll read it to you. The Badgers, and I wrote this up, simply haven't been able to put the ball in the hoop at a high rate. They convert just 41.7% of their field goal attempts, 67% from the free throw line. And while they've gotten hot at the NIT at the line, a whole season's worth of data is proving to be well below average. Now, the Ducks, again, don't score, but they've been able to survive without their top 3 scorers so far. One big question has to be, will that success continue against the Badgers team, who is, in as much as we're looking at defensive efficiency, in the top 30. They're 28th in adjusted defensive efficiency. These two teams are going to slog it out. And that's what Breacher and I were talking about this morning. These two teams are going to slog it out. The total on this game right now is sitting at 133.5. And that's what I've got up here, the number 133.5. It opened at 134.5, but the number right now sits at 133.5. I'm going to play under on this game all the way down to 135.5, meaning even if this game fell to the total being 131.5, guys, I would take the under on this one. At this particular moment in time, BetUS.com has it at 133.5. I would go take that under right now. Jason P1 Breacher's popping in here, and he's like, slower guard yelling. Yes, that's what I feel like we're going to see a lot of it. And while the Ducks' top 3 scorers, Matt, aren't on the floor for the Oregon squad tonight, what they do have, and this isn't going to help their offense, but it will help their defense, I would at least assume a bit against the Badgers. What they do have is a lot of size. So Oregon's very tall. They're a very long team. They're very lanky. Again, I don't think it's going to help them score a ton because the Badgers do play a good team defense. But I think the Badgers, especially down low, are going to have a real issue getting to the hoop. And that's how they basically scored all of their points against Liberty, was taking it to the basket.
With Kral, especially. Yeah, they've been the Ducks have been without their center, Nafali Dante for the last 2 games, so we'll see if he comes into play. But like you said, they're basically like a 6'7" to 7 foot team.
Very
They're
tall.
very tall, and the Badgers don't really have that. They just have Steven Krause, so it's going to be a lot of banging down low to see if he can get in there.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be a tough one, but we've got more Badger basketball. So coming up tonight, it will be 8 o'clock. The the Elite Eight, I should say, of the NIT. We'll see if Wisconsin can get the best of Oregon again. Total on this one, 133.5. Right now, the Badgers are 4.5-point dogs. So if you feel good about Wisconsin in this spot and you want to take them to cover the spread, they're 4.5-point dogs. Again, you can get these numbers and this action at betus.com. Have a great day, guys. We're open at 11 for the Recov. Today should be a really good day, 50-plus degrees. I'll be back behind the bar, Matthew, at 4 p.m. this evening. So come on out, see us for lunch or maybe an early dinner or cocktail. And we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow here on the Sports Carnival. Have a great day, guys.
Peace.